watching WUFT Midday.
Hurricane Helene is now a Category 1 storm, bringing with it dangerous storm surge. Parts of the viewing area on the coast could see surge up to 15 feet. Helene became a hurricane just before the noon hour. This is WUFT Midday. I'm Bernardo Montas. As the storm continues to gain strength in the Gulf, we have the very latest on North Central Florida preparations. A mandatory evacuation order is in effect for parts of Levy County, and in the last hour, Alachua County school leaders announced closures for tomorrow and Friday. And the University of Florida is set to close tomorrow and open back up Friday at 7 a.m. Shelters have begun to open in Levy, Marion, and Alachua counties. City and county offices in our area will begin to close this afternoon in anticipation of Helene. The UF weather team says we will start to feel impacts from the storm this afternoon. Taking a live look at the coast off Clearwater Beach, you can see the waves starting to get bigger as Helene churns in the Gulf. Let's get right over to William Maxham in the weather studio with the latest track on now Hurricane Helene.
Yeah, we're looking right now at where the storm surge is going to be greatest. We're expecting to see up to maybe as much as 10 to 15 feet in the Big Bend. This is going to be a very significant event. If you've got anything near the water, be very aware of that. In addition to that, we're talking about winds that are going to be as high as up to 110, maybe as high as 110 to 120 miles an hour near the Big Bend as this pushes inland. And right now we have pretty much tropical storm warnings and hurricane warnings across the entire state. And locally, we're talking about hurricane warnings generally west of I-75, tropical storm warnings east of there, winds up to 75 miles an hour possible in the red shaded counties. The latest track does bring a rapid intensification as this moves northward. By this time tomorrow morning, we're talking about 120 mile an hour winds. And then as it moves inland into the evening, that wind could be even higher than that, 125, something like that. So Tallahassee, Apalachicola is certainly in the path, and we'll have the latest on exactly what our winds are going to be through the day coming up in a few minutes.
Governor Ron DeSantis held a press conference this morning in Tampa ahead of Hurricane Helene. DeSantis spoke with press at TECO Energy about possible power outages and preparations. The conference comes after the governor signed an executive order Monday.
We, of course, began preparing over the weekend. On Monday, I signed an executive order. We now have 61 of Florida's 67 counties that are in a state of emergency.
DeSantis also shared that FEMA has partially approved Florida's pre-landfall emergency declaration, and he plans to seek further approval. Federal help is now heading to Florida ahead of Tropical Storm Helene. FEMA has sent a Virginia task force to help with recovery efforts. FEMA has deployed Virginia Task Force 1 from the Washington, D.C. area. The team of 80 rescuers is no stranger to responding to hurricanes. It's trained to save people from emergencies like building collapses and floods. It's even responded to major emergencies like earthquakes and the 9/11 attacks. Task Force member John Morrison says the team is ready to help Floridians.
So we're prepared for anything, whether it's wide area search and rescue, water rescues, collapsed structures, really anything. We bring all the food, water, tents, medical equipment that we'll need, and anybody we rescue that we'll need, because we don't want to be a burden on the area that we go to. So we bring everything we need, and we're ready to go.
FEMA is activating other response and assistance teams as well to deal with the emergency. Visit FEMA.gov for more information. Our neighbors in Marion County are bracing for the storm too. WUFT's Sarah Howard spoke with an American Red Cross official who says being prepared is a top priority.
People here in Marion County are taking the storm seriously. Behind me, you can see residents filling and loading sandbags to keep their homes from flooding. These sandbags might seem basic, but resident Mike Alvarez says they can make a big difference in keeping the water out of your home. Keeping the water out, one priority. But the biggest concern?
Just making sure he's safe.
With Hurricane Helene just days away, county officials set up multiple occasions like this one to ensure everyone has access to the resources they need. Public Information Officer Zach Morris says even if the storm does not hit, the county is prepared for some rainfall.
If you live in an area that's prone to flooding, there could be any number of hazards in those floodwaters, so stay out of those, don't drive through them.
The tropical storm is expected to strengthen into a hurricane early Wednesday. The storm could bring winds over 110 miles per hour, heavy rains, flooding, and storm surge. The American Red Cross plays a crucial role in recovery efforts. Red Cross CEO Christian Smith says being prepared is the most important thing.
we're recognizing that the preparedness, how important that is to make sure people are prepared before the storms.
It's Mother Nature. She has a mind of her own sometimes, so just be ready. Don't take it too lightly.
As Hurricane Helene approaches, Marion County is prioritizing community safety and support to help residents prepare. Sarah Howard, WUFT News.
Locations are open across Alachua County. If you're looking for pre-filled sandbags in Gainesville, head to Public Works on Northwest 39th Avenue. Self-serve sandbags are available at Citizens Field on Northeast 8th Avenue as well. There's a 10-bag limit for every vehicle. You can go to our website at WUFT.org for other locations in Newberry, Hawthorne, and High Springs. And in Bradford County, schools are closed tomorrow and Friday. County leaders have set up sandbag sites across the area. Sites are in Stark, Lottie, Brooker, and on County Road 229. They're all self-serve and open from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Marion County Animal Services are asking for temporary foster care help for at-risk pets as the storm approaches. The animal shelter is at capacity, and animal lovers are asked to provide comfort and safety to furry friends for a short time. Supplies are provided, and the shelter can be found on Baseline Road in Ocala. The Alachua County Animal Shelter is also asking for storm fosters. Panama City, as Hurricane Helene is expected to significantly impact the area. Emergency management officials are asking their neighbors to prepare now for the storm. At least 3 neighborhoods in Panama City must evacuate if you live in a mobile home or an RV. Neighbors in those communities say they are well aware of how dangerous a storm like this can be, and some aren't taking any chances of riding it out.
So you just deal with it and take it, like everything else, one day at a time.
Residents of these areas are urged to stay updated with local officials about possible evacuation notices in place for their communities. A NASA and SpaceX launch scheduled for Thursday afternoon from Cape Canaveral has now been pushed to Saturday in light of Hurricane Helene. Although Helene is expected to hit along Florida's Gulf Coast, NASA and SpaceX said high winds and heavy rainfall could affect Florida's East Coast, posing hazards for the launch. Crews are expected to move the rocket and capsule back into its hangar to protect it. Let's check out the FDOT traffic camera. You're at the area right now in real time. Traffic seems to be moving smoothly. Although the weather's looking a little bit cloudy, you should be fine in your way in or out of the city. As of 11 a.m., the National Hurricane Center has Hurricane Helene. It's a little bit south.
We're watching Hurricane Helene right now, and the circulation just now moving into open water again, and we're watching where we're seeing lightning already in the Key West area. Expect to see impacts in our area later today. As soon as maybe about 4 or 5 o'clock, we're dealing with some thunderstorms as that rain band rolls through. And by tomorrow morning, Helene is a major hurricane with 120-mile-an-hour winds, and hurricane force winds of 75 miles an hour are going to extend well away from the center of this storm. And later in the evening tomorrow, it should be making landfall somewhere between around Tallahassee and somewhere into the Big Bend. We're thinking maybe close to Steenhatchee, where our last hurricane, Debbie, made landfall. All of these locations near the coast are going to expect major impacts from storm surge, and our winds are going to be quite extreme. Now today, as that rain band rolls through, we're going to be dealing with the possibility of some isolated tornadoes pretty much anywhere across the state as some thunderstorms roll through. Here's a look at one computer model solution, what we can expect in the next few hours. Storms increasing. This is 6 o'clock in the evening. We've got heavy rain with a little bit of embedded thunder and some gusty winds. This rain band rolls through, then we'll get a lull in the action briefly. Then things pick up again quickly on Thursday as the center of the storm closes in on the Big Bend area, and winds are going to be extreme. Now, looking at some of the computer models, estimates of winds, this is what we're going to see today. Nothing too bad today, except some of the thunderstorms could produce some really high gusts, maybe 40 miles an hour. The extreme stuff is expected to arrive tomorrow evening. Got about 26-mile-an-hour winds into the afternoon. I think we're seeing this model maybe is like the floor of what we can expect. I think we can probably add at least 15 miles an hour onto most of these numbers as the eye approaches land. We're talking about winds easily tropical storm strength into the evening all the way to I-75, and probably hurricane force winds are going to be very close to I-75 into the evening hours tomorrow, and into about 9-10 o'clock things start to slow down, but tropical storm force winds could still be in our area through about 11 o'clock in the evening. After that, things settle down a lot for Friday. As far as where those alerts are, where we have the red coloring, that's where we have a hurricane warning, and that's where the winds are going to be the strongest, basically it's any area west of I-75, and that matches a lot of the other computer modeling. And also tomorrow, as the hurricane makes landfall, we could be dealing with another set of isolated tornadoes popping up from many of these storms, and storm surge warnings extend pretty much all along the Gulf Coast of Florida. 10 to 15 is what we're forecasting in the Big Bend areas. That water just gets pushed up into this bowl. Rain, not extreme, at least compared to some of the other storms over the next couple days. I think most of us can expect a floor of about 3 inches, maybe a little bit more than that, but the main impact is going to be from the winds. Clouds are increasing as the storm gets closer, but today, not expecting a whole lot of impact. The storm moves out tomorrow evening, then things improve quickly for Friday and just a few general thunderstorms through the start of next week.
Operations got underway Tuesday as the state faces a major hurricane strike from Helene. In light of the weather, one Sanibel couple who nearly lost everything following Hurricane Ian managed to find love. Annette Montgomery has more as they brace for yet another storm.
As Michelle Vikertovsky and Larry Leventhal prepare for Tropical Storm Helene, they may look and sound like your typical Sanibel neighbors.
If it tilts again and comes further south, this time I do want to take the cars off the island. I lost 2 cars last time. He lost 1. I can't lose another car. Can't let Mother Nature fool you anymore.
But don't let them fool you. They're not your typical neighbors. While Ian was tearing everything apart on the island, the storm was bringing them together.
We both were crazy people that stayed. So we were neighbors. We had not met. We just met during the hurricane, spent the 2 days walking around after, and now this happened. So Ian brought us together.
Together to weather out another storm, one they feel a lot less concerned about.
You know, after living through Ian, it's like you could get through anything.
Yeah. Anything maybe, but Ian's punch is likely on everyone's mind.
People are concerned. You know, Ian was destructive. Ian taught us all a lesson that we never thought would happen here. Storm surge is always predicted, but we've never happened like Ian. So yeah, we've learned to watch a little bit, be a little bit more careful.
And this time, this couple will be riding out the storm with a special someone they didn't have last time.
It's all good. We're so lucky to be here.
It is paradise. True. It is paradise. We do live in paradise. Yeah, well, it's all good.
In 2022, more than 100 people were killed in Florida by Hurricane Ian. Despite the tragedy, some say they're prepared to weather out Hurricane Helene. We'll continue to stay on top of every development about Hurricane Helene. For the latest information about the storm, latest closures, and its potential impacts across North Central Florida, you can visit our website at WUFT.org. Now let's get over to WFT First at 5 anchor Jamie Goldman with a look at what's coming up on First at 5 on Channel 5. Jamie?
Today on First at 5, we got you covered for what you need to know about Tropical Storm Helene. Levy County is under a mandatory evacuation order for today at 6 p.m. for those in mobile homes and other vulnerable areas. Plus, Gainesville neighborhoods prone to flooding are preparing to keep homes safe during Hurricane Helene.
Before we go, one last check on the weather.
Yeah, all of the state has at least some kind of warning in effect, and for us, we have hurricane warnings to the west of I-75, tropical storm warnings east, and that's a pretty good indicator of the wind speeds you can expect. Again, tropical storm force winds over 39, over 75 for hurricane force. I think Gainesville, we can expect winds at least very close to hurricane strength. So prepare for 70-mile-an-hour winds through the evening tomorrow. The main time frame is going to be somewhere between about 4 o'clock in the afternoon through about 8 or 9 o'clock in the evening. I think that's when it's going to be at its worst. Things start settling down after that. Friday, no real weather issues there, just a few scattered storms, and that's the case through the rest of the weekend and the next week. But this looks like a major storm, and do what you can to secure your belongings around your house. Things are going to be blowing around, and park your car in a safe place. This is going to be a pretty significant storm, one that we're going to be talking about for years.
Definitely. Thanks for joining us for WUFT Midday. We're back here tomorrow for another edition. We now join Sports Scene with Steve Russell live on WRUF Radio and right here on WRUF-TV Channel 6.